I'm Paul Woolever. I'm the owner of Pinellas Power Products, and this is my extended runtime fuel kit for the DuroMax 16,000 watt inverter generator. The 16,000 watt generator is well within the size range to use as a standby power for your home or emergency backup power for your home. If you're familiar with like the Coleman PowerMates and the Generac home backup generators, they're 10 or 12,000, sometimes 15,000 watts. So the 16,000 watt DuroMax is well within the size range for that. A couple of things I'd like to touch is number one, I get asked this all the time, is can I use the stock tank with your kit involved? And the answer is absolutely yes. With my kit installed, and if you want to run it off the stock tank, you do it absolutely the same way you did before installing my kit. Follow the owner's manual's instructions and don't make any special consideration at all. Just ignore the fact that the kit isn't installed in the generator and it'll work perfectly. The next thing I'd like to point out is my kit is designed to have the generator and the fuel tank both sitting on the ground. The only reason why I've got them up in the air like this is because I'm old and I don't like crouching to hook up the tank and demonstrate it, and also because it's easier to videotape when it's up in the air like this. If you have already watched my installation instructions, you know how the kit is installed inside the generator. The kit comes with two additional components. One is a Yamaha style quick disconnect fitting to screw into your tank. The kit does not come with a tank itself because different customers are going to want different size tanks. With a 16,000 watt generator, I'd recommend at least 30 gallons, because if you're using it as home backup power, you're going to want to run it for several days, not several hours. The next thing is, I've been asked by several customers who see the photograph and they say, which barb should I hook the fuel hose to? And the answer is both. The Yamaha style fuel hoses and fuel hose barbs work very simply. You squeeze the little latch mechanism and you snap it into the hose, or the hose barb. And as you can see, it's connected to both, not one or the other. It's quite simple. The next thing is, if you damage the hose that came with the kit, do not replace it with a larger hose. Either get a new hose from me or go to your local Yamaha dealer and get their 6mm diameter hose. The 6mm diameter will get much better capillary action than their 8 or 10mm diameter. The bottom line is this: the 16,000 watt generator has about a 30 horsepower engine. The 6mm diameter or small hose, according to Yamaha, is good for 60 horsepower, which is well over the amount of gallons per minute of flow rate that this generator requires. So if you were to run over it or tear it up somehow and get a larger fuel hose and then try it, you would not get good capillary action and it would not suck the fuel. And then you'd call me up and eventually we would touch on, did you modify anything? Oh yeah, eventually, yeah, I did buy a new hose. That's the problem. So if you do destroy this hose somehow, please stick with a 6mm hose. Operation is quite simple. On the prime bulb for the hose, you'll see that there's an arrow, and that points in the direction of fuel flow. On the end that hooks to the tank, there's an icon of a fuel tank and an arrow that points into the hose. On the end that hooks to the generator, there's an arrow that points toward the generator. So we've got that covered. Hook them all up, pointing in the direction of fuel flow, which is from the tank to the generator. The first step is going to be to hook the hose to the tank by squeezing in on the tab and hooking the hose up. If your tank has a manual fuel vent, make sure that the fuel vent is in the open position. If you have an automatic fuel tank vent, it's possibly in your best interest to just open the lid one turn. I've seen an awful lot of the automatic vents that do not work. They just never open, for what it's worth. The next step is going to be to hook the generator end of the hose to the quick disconnect on the generator. And you'll squeeze in on the tab and plug them together. So now you've got the generator and the fuel tank hooked up. Come over to the generator and you'll notice that there is a fuel use switch. And it's labeled gas and LPG, which in my opinion is an error. They should have labeled it gasoline and propane, because truth be known, gasoline is a liquid, not a gas. So at any rate, according to their instructions, you put it in the gas position, short for gasoline. Then you'd move the fuel selector valve to the on position. With the selector valve in the on position, you'll pump the hose prime bulb until you feel gasoline flowing through it. Because remember, when it's all brand new, this is full of air. So you want to prime the system. And in order to prime it, you just pump the bulb until you feel firm, and then give it about 3 or 4 more pumps. Once you get all the air pushed out of the system and primed with gasoline, you will put the master switch in the on position and press the start button. I'm not actually going to start it in this small room because of carbon monoxide poisoning being what it is. We don't need to run the thing to demonstrate that. Once the generator is running, you will then move the fuel selector valve all the way to the off position. So with the generator hooked to my remote tank, put the fuel selector valve in the off position. If it's in the on position, it's going to pull from the stock tank. In the off position, it'll pull from my remote tank. If you wanted to bleed all the fuel out of the system for storage purposes, in fact, the fuel selector valve is labeled off/storage. Normally, without my kit involved, you would move the selector valve to the off/storage position and let it run until it ran out of fuel completely. With my kit installed, you would put it in the off/storage position, and with it running, you would disconnect the quick disconnect fitting and let it run until it's stalled or run out of fuel. Hopefully this answers all your questions. If you are watching this video on YouTube, please look in the description section below and you'll see how to get in touch with me. If you go to my website, which is listed twice in the description section, go to the page on this generator and it should have answers to just about any of your questions. And don't forget to look at the FAQ page, or frequently asked questions. If you don't see the answer to your question, get in touch with me and ask me. That's what my job is. Thank you for your time.